computers or any embedded systems. Mainly to make our, to make it convenient to use, so that the user will not find that the difficulty in using any applications. It will make our job very easy. So that is the main role of. Not only that, we have also seen what are the services provided by the operating systems, like your file management, timing management, then memory management, so on and so on. So we've seen the objectives of why we went for operating systems, and the role of operating systems, and some of the services provided by the same. Okay, so today we shall see with respect to multitasking, in the sense how we are able to utilize the processor even though we go for running multiple applications. So as we are aware that any system will run with the multiple task or the multi-process. Okay. So to begin with, so I will talk about an embedded system. So as we know that an embedded system has got a CPU and
Excuse me, ma'am.
yeah.
Ma'am, can you please start recording the session?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is a simple embedded system wherein you have a CPU connected with some sensors. So I'm talking about any microcontroller or the. So normally now you don't call it as a controller. Any system will have a it's a microprocessor, maybe ARM, whatever we say. So it is connected with the sensor, given with some input, and you are trying to give an output through the actuator. So this x of t is my input and y of t is my output, and delta t is my response time. Okay. So this is how it look like. How I'm able to get the expected output by processing the whatever the input I'm giving through the sensors. Okay, how fast my processor or the system is able to respond. Okay, so it's a simple block diagram shown. So you have some what do you call the in this particular system we have not shown the multiple things, but it is given with the very basic. Okay, so very basic system. Since we are using a particular board, which is ARM Cortex, ARM Cortex M3, I'm showing the picture of it. It's an evaluation board which we have it. So as I have shown in my previous slide that I'm giving some input through the sensors. Maybe assuming there are some sensors connected, I'm giving the input through the sensors, and make sure that within no time or whatever the prescribed time or whatever I am defining the deadline, by then I'm expecting the results to be obtained and that actuator should function. Okay. Say, and maybe I have given the washing machine. Let us say there is a motor, right? As soon as I switch on I'm pressing the buttons, and it should within some little bit latency, it should start turning on my motor and start working, right? Maybe initially it will start pouring the water and other things as the program is written to that. So here I have some software. I have some program written. This program, in this particular case, is the hardware which I am showing. It's a evaluation board. I'm writing the code in a system, maybe my desktop, and I'm dumping the code onto the board. It's a microcontroller board. This is a practical perspective of the system. So now let us see the how the board look like. Okay, so this is the evaluation board. You must have worked with the ARM7 boards. Do you? Have you worked with the ARM7 kit in your last semester, last year or so? Hello?
Yes, we have in the lab.
Yeah. No, it looks
Yes, ma'am, we
similar,
have.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Pardon? Sorry, I'm not able to hear you.
Ma'am, yeah, we have worked with the
Yeah, you have
kit.
seen, right? A similar board.
Yes, ma'am, yes, we have.
Yeah. So only replacement here is you must have worked with the ARM7. Now this is the ARM Cortex. Okay, this is a smaller chip. You can see the rest everything is the same. But we have got the board which is compatible for both. Like this is called as a sister board or a piggy board. I can replace this ARM7 with the ARM Cortex. Other functionality remains the same. Maybe in your ARM7 board, we don't have the graphic LCD. Here I can connect any, like either a normal two-line LCD or graphic LCD, anything we can have it. So rest, I think the features are the same. You have a 7-segment display and keyboard, and there are some memory switches, LEDs, and buzzer relay, DC motor control. Okay, and most, I mean, the important thing in your system is there is a JTAG through which we can do the debug, but we don't have the hardware facility and something like an emulator to see the runtime debugging in the hardware, which we don't have. But it's connected with the port, the JTAG port. Anyway, in one of my class, I'll discuss about the JTAG as well. And we have got USB here and ISP, ADC, PWM. Okay, yeah, this is our the brain or the CPU, which is a ARM Cortex M3. Okay, so we are whatever the program we are running. Maybe you are familiar with the serial communication which you have done through, like you write the program in a system, and through your there is an RS-232 Max 232 IC through which you will convert your TTL to RS-232 logic, so that serially you send your hex code to the system, to the memory. So there is an that's what we are doing here. And yeah, okay, this is about and also we have got external interrupt switches. Okay, and most important thing is a reset circuit. If anything is there, I can press the reset switch, it will reset the code. Okay, it is called as a hardware reset. And also you need to connect. One more important thing I want to say about this one is we are working on the some of the port peripherals, that is the pins. Okay, even though we run with the program, some of the software, that is RTX, we run the program and dump it onto the board and make sure that some of the peripherals which are connected to this board are going to function. Okay, maybe initially I'll show about the simple the LED blinking or relays, etc. Yeah, this is about the board. Yeah. So now we shall see that. Okay, I have shown in my previous slide saying that I am having some software. So how we are going to write the program? We will be writing the program in the form of a C, right? It's an embedded C. So your C code is, if you consider a basic, very simple C code, a simple code. I have a void main, and I'm running this while one loop continuously, so that I blink the LED. it's a simple code which we give LED blinking, okay, to blink the LEDs. So I make the LED on, call a delay function, and LED off. So this is a continuous loop which we call it as an application code. As I've already discussed in my previous class that there's a hardware and I have my software, that application code. In between there is a kernel. So the kernel, something like wherein you have your operating systems and maybe you have some device drivers and there is something like an interface you can see. So between your operating systems and the application code, I have a API, application programming interface, and so this drivers, that is a board support. So mainly for your, say I do not know the code which I am writing, whether it is using for your ARM Cortex or ARM 7 or 8051 or what for I am writing the code, or maybe your Pentium machine, whatever, any machine, there is an hardware, right? So the processor should understand my code. The processor should be in a position to understand the code, the C code which I am writing. So supposing I make the LED blink, right? So there is a driver for the LED, there is something, okay, which is connected. So I have to have some board support package with respect to the board, the hardware I'm using. There are some drivers and board support package which I am loading on top of, which is part of your software. As I've already mentioned, everything is your hardware and the software basic unit. There are only hardware and software. But your software, you will have application code and the system code. In the system code, you will have so many things as we are showing in the form of layers here. Okay, so there are certain drivers and the board support package with respect to which is pertaining to the particular board I'm using. And this is your interface hardware abstraction layer. It's an interface between your operating system and your hardware in between, and API is an interface between your application code and the operating systems. Okay, yeah, here it plays a role. It will convert, maybe it will convert into it. What actually I want to do here, I am making that particular LED I am using to blink. Okay, so I need to maybe I have shown only LED on function here. LED on is what? This is a syntax even for this particular board, that LPC underscore GPIO underscore port. I need to ensure that that particular port is enabled and make it as an output port by putting some bits onto it, and then when I set the particular pin of that port, it will make that LED to blink, glow. This is only for on function. So this whatever I'm having here, this makes me blink the LED, provided it will convert into the respective functional, as per the board requirement, and make the LED blink. Okay, so let us see a little bit detail about your what do you mean by application program interface. I think in my previous class I have asked you to tell about APIs. So people have given different answers, but anyway, let us see what is API. It's a software allows two applications to talk to each other. So say maybe you are aware that in your mobile you have so many, you will have some APIs. For example, if I am going to do something on voice recording, there is an API, right? It will make you to record your voice, and it can play. It's a simple, maybe any other features which you want to. So in simple way, this will make the two software to communicate each other. Okay. So when we use any application in our mobile, so for example, the application connects to the internet and sends the data to the server. Okay. The server then retrieves the data, then it has to interpret what you are trying to do it, and it will give you the necessary actions. And also we have a middleware. So which enables that there are one or more kinds of communication or connectivity between more than two applications. Okay. In a distributed network. So please note that. What do you mean by distributed network? When there are multiple processors. So multiple processors, if I'm having, so nowadays we have a dual core or dual processor, or we can insert multiple dual SIM like that. So in such a case, I need this. It will make sure that everything will go in a smoothly. Okay. So that is, the examples of your middlewares are message brokers, web application servers, etc. Then coming to your hardware abstraction layer, as I have already mentioned, it's a layer of programming which allows the computer operating system to interact with the hardware device. Okay. It will make your hardware to interact. So it's an abstraction layer. It's a in between your system software and the your device drivers. Okay. So as I've already shown, see, you can see that it's an interface between your operating systems. Every system need not have an RTOS. Okay. So you will have some operating systems, and this acts as an interface between your board support package and the hardware. Okay. Okay. Now let us consider I have a uniprocessor system. Anyway, we will deal with only uniprocessor system throughout our discussion in this course. We are not going to have any scheduling or whatever on multiprocessor environment. It is on the single processor system. Okay, uniprocessor system. Any processor can execute in a sequential way, which you are aware of it. Say there is an application code, nothing but you have a set of instructions in the form of a program, which you call it as a program. Program will be, it is written in the memory, and you fetch one after the other, right? It will execute in a sequential way, one after the other. Okay. So in sequential, it has to, because the processor can give its time only for one instruction at a time. So which you call it as a sequential execution. So here let us see, I'm going to make use of two resources. One is LED and another one is a relay, a simple, which I have already shown in my hardware picture. So I'm using the two resources, and so I want to make this LED glow and relay also operate. So when I say sequential execution, I'll start with this is your I need to include board support package, that is a header file, because since we are using LPC 1768, which is ARM Cortex M3 processor, so you will include this, and as a standard IO function, this also need to be included. Then I am giving a data type here, it's an int, and variable is j, which I am using later. Okay. So my program is, I'll explain about these functions which I have included over here. Maybe in one of the lecture I'll discuss on this. So what do you mean by system initialization function and the clock update? It's a mandatory functions we are including in the all the program of the main code which we are running with. Okay, so this you have to include, which will tell about your various clock, and this is your initialization code for the particular system. Now, yeah, so I'm making this LED blink, for which, as I said, I am selecting the particular pins of the board. Okay, so selecting the board, but the way in which I have shown here in the program may not be true for the hardware, because when I'm when I'm writing the code, I should have some knowledge of how these what are the port pins are connected with my actual hardware, and I need to enable those pins itself. But here it is given in a random way. I've chosen particular port pins which are connected with the LEDs. So I will select the particular port pins, that is P04 to P11, that is port 0. So port 0, 4 to 11. So select those. The 8 pins are selected, and yeah, this is 25 pin 25 is connected with the relay. It's connected with the relay, and make this direction register. I mean, you make those pins as an output port. Since those are connected with the LEDs, make it as an output port. And in my main program, initially I turn off all LEDs. Okay. And another thing you need to know that when I make the LEDs blinking and it's connected with some driver in the sense it is connected with some resistors, right? So that anode and the cathode pins. So based on the connection which we do it for the common anode or the common cathode configuration, we make those LED to on. Okay. So let us see in our board. Supposing I have a common anode configuration LED. How or what makes that LED to glow? Hello?
Ma'am, if we ground the cathode individually,
Okay.
so if we set it to low.
Yeah, when we have a common cathode, we connect all those cathode, ground it, and to make that LED glow, what I am supposed to give as an input? Whether high or low?
High as an input.
Huh?
High as an input to make it glow.
Yeah. So for common cathode, we have to give plus 5 volt, or suppose it's my 3.3 volts or something, I will be giving that particular voltage. For common cathode configuration, I will be giving a high. For common anode, since all anodes are connected, are shorted, and they are connected with the power supply, to glow the LED, I need to give as input as a 0. So in this particular board, it's a common anode configuration. Okay. So to make that LED on, we are giving zeros. So since I am turning off by making it high. I hope you got it. Then yeah. So we are writing the program, that is the main program. Since it's a sequential execution, first I'll make the relay on. So relay pin is pin number 25. I make the relay on, and then I relay off. So relay this is the standard syntax which is used: LPC_GPIO FIO set, function IO set. And when I set it, the relay will be on, and when I clear it, the relay will be off. Similarly, for those LEDs which I have made as in connected, so initially I have already turned off. Now I turn on. In my main program, I already make the LEDs off. Now LED is on by clearing those pins. Right? So since it is a common anode, I'll make it high so that the LED will blink. And anyway, if I run this code, it won't show you any results. Can you tell me the reason behind? If I run this code, I'm not able to visualize my results. What could be the reason? Anybody? Why I'm not able to visualize my results? Hello? Yeah, Tushar. Are you there? Hello? So please respond, otherwise there is no point in showing, because this is more or less practical based, and your involvement is very much necessary here. Yeah, Arnav. So next class.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm not able to figure it. I am not able to figure this out. Sorry.
No, just look at the code. What I'm asking is, this is sequential execution. There is nothing wrong in the program. It's absolutely fine. The program is correct, but I am not able to visualize my result if I run this code. What could be the reason? Yeah, Yuvraj.
Ma'am, the Cortex M3 runs at many megahertz, right?
Yes.
So 10,000 worth of delay is not enough clock cycles so that we can actually see a blink.
Perfect. Absolutely fine. So we have not given any delay in between. If you look at my code which is given, I just give relay on, relay off, LED on, LED off. We have not shown any delay functions in between. Unless and until when I give, say, stipulated same, for example, for every second, I need to add some delay function in between, then only I am able to visualize my results. You get it? Yeah? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Here we have the statements in the for loops, right?
Yeah.
They already serve as a sort of delay, right?
Yeah, that is too fast. Too fast.
So we can just increase the 10,000 to about 1,000,000. That will be fine then.
We have not given any delay in between, right? It's a while loop, it continuous loop, it runs forever. But what I mean here is I make this relay on and relay off, LED on, LED off, sequential. It runs forever based on the operating frequency. Maybe I'll select initially that's 12 megahertz. Are you able to see that in runtime?
No.
Huh?
We can't make out, no.
That's what I want to say. We have to have some delay added in between, so that, anyway, there's nothing to do with the thing. I just wanted to know about this. So we are talking about the sequential execution. Anyway, I'm using two resources, relay and LEDs, and this is sequential execution. It continuously runs. So now, for which I don't need any operating systems, right? Do we need any operating system if I'm running only one application? I mean, same thing. Do we need? What? No, not. Right? We don't need. So now, anyway, this I'll discuss later on the pin details. I'll go back to that later. Now, whenever we have some concurrency, that is parallelism, so we have to run whenever we make use of parallelism or the multi-processing, or the multitasking, so we need somebody to interleave in between. There are two applications. So I'm giving you a very simple application here. One is about LED, another one is on the relay. So these two functions I need to make, on and off, whatever. So consider that LED is my one of the application, relay is another application. I am switching between these two. So now, which you call it as I have to have some parallel execution. What I mean here is simultaneously I want to make the LED also glow and relay also glow. In our previous case, it's a sequential execution. It goes one after the other. In parallelism also it goes one after the other. But it fools the users that it is giving the importance or it is running simultaneously. For example, in your desktop, right, I am running multiple applications. Suppose, again, I am stressing that considering a uniprocessor system, there is only one processor. So, even though it switches between the two applications, it makes sure that it gives a priority to both simultaneously. It gives a illusion. It is an illusion basically to the user that both applications are running simultaneously. So that illusion creation is done by your operating system. So it makes sure that multiple programs are run simultaneously. You call it as a concurrency. Okay, so using a very simple way, it is impossible to have two functions run simultaneously. That's what I want to convey here. So if there is a requirement of two resources to run simultaneously, so have a single core CPU, LED and relay to the applications, how I'm able to run that simultaneously. So, which you call it as a parallel execution or concurrent execution, which is possible in this way. Suppose your CPU processing time, of course it is getting the instruction which is LED on, LED off, relay on, relay off. Maybe what I do is I'll make LED on, then I relay on, then LED off, then relay off, like that. Means processor time is divided among the multiple tasks so that user gets, because this processor is running very fast and user will get a feel that okay, both are running simultaneously. Okay, so which is possible. So CPU processing time is this, and you divide the whole job, whole task into smaller pieces. It's something like your pipeline in the same way. So it will create an illusion to the user that the execution is running parallelly. Okay, so the embedded application which requires execution of several functions simultaneously, they are supported with the kernel, that is operating system. So wherever you need the multitasking or multiprocessing, you are going to have a operating system, so that which will support multitasking. Okay, so now let us see the operating system based design. One more thing I want you to note now itself, since we are working on the operating systems, make sure that any program you write there has to be minimum two tasks or the two process. Otherwise, there is no point. Okay, so minimum two tasks must be there when you write any program. Okay, yeah. So your embedded operating system is responsible for scheduling the execution of your task. Okay, so what is scheduling? So as I have shown in my previous slide, that okay, so initially there is a first job, that is LED job. Then now LED is running, in the sense processor time is given to LED. Now the processor time is given to relay, then it is switching, right? So there will be a switching between the multiple tasks. Something like a how the various tasks are scheduled. So you will have some scheduling algorithm in the operating system which ensures that which task is going to run, or which job or which process is given the processor time. Okay, there is something like a scheduler in the operating system. Okay, so scheduler, and there is a dispatcher. It's in combination. Dispatcher in the sense it dispatches which is the particular task it is going to execute in the run. Yeah. So scheduling the execution of the task, and also it needs to allocate the resources. Okay. If there are some multiple, that is another important thing we need to know, that say whenever we have multiple process or multiple tasks are running in the system, there could be some common resources are used by the different systems. Maybe the most common resource is your memory. So memory is one of the resource. How you make sure, otherwise there will be a deadlock. At both, there is a competition, the competency among the different processor. I mean, sorry, not a processor, different process to use that particular resource. So there will be a conflict. So your processor, I mean the operating system or the scheduler will make sure that how the various resources are allocated among the multiple tasks. Okay, so that also will be taken care by the operating system. Now, yeah. So coming to our the two resources or the functions which we have used. One is relay LED on off, another one is relay on off. I'm using two separate functions. In previous case, it was going in a sequential way. In a single while loop, I have written both. Okay, so it's a sequential execution. So whenever I have these two in a multitasking, something like it will create your multiple threads. Okay, so the whole LED task I'm dividing as a small thread. One may be LED on as a thread, LED off is another thread, relay on is one of the thread, relay off is another thread, that way. Okay, the whole process is LED on off. This is a delay on off. This is a simple example I'm giving, so that to know that the difference between your process and the thread. Maybe I'll discuss that more detail in the one of the lectures. The different, I mean, what is process and the thread. Yeah, so it will make you to feel that there are multiple threads in the execution. Okay. Yeah, we will discuss the different scheduling, but here I'm showing the. Can you see the code? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the actual code we have given, which was run in the system, showing the minimum two tasks. One is relay and the LED. So here, as I said, today focus is on knowing that the importance of operating system. Maybe let us discuss on scheduling all those things later. Okay. So here there are two tasks, as I said, minimum two tasks. Maybe these things I'll discuss later. What are the things to be included, how you create a project, etc. etc. So we need to have some initialization function, and anyway, these are the syntax. I will discuss more detail on RTX. So I have a initialization function wherein I'm creating the task etc. etc. Okay, create the task, delete. Nothing to do with the for timing. Today's highlight is on having two tasks. One is task 1 started from here. It's a while one loop, task 1, wherein I'm making the relay. Okay, I'm making the relay on with the delay calling for some time. Then there is a delay off. And of course, there is a delay again. Okay, this is one of the tasks. Relay on off is a one task. Task 2 is for LED on off. I clear the LED, then wait for some time and set the LEDs. Okay. Maybe in main function I have already shown that I'll be doing the select the pins and give the direction register and make sure that all LEDs are off initially. Okay. We have to give some other additional functions supporting to my code with respect to the RTX code. So here, what I mean to say, there are two tasks given and I'm making two tasks run simultaneously through sort of a round robin scheduling. What do you mean by round robin scheduling? Round robin scheduling, maybe you are aware of it, you must have studied in your embedded systems. If not, I'll just tell you. Round robin is, if there are n number of tasks, each task is given a fixed amount of time for the execution. Each task is given a stipulated time is given. For example, I have some 4 tasks, it's running. Then each will be given, say for example, 5 seconds. Then after some 20 seconds, I'll get back to my original task. Okay, because it will divide some amount of time, that is equal amount of time is given to every task. Okay, so there is a round robin scheduling. What happens is, since I'm using round robin here, this particular task divided into some number of threads, and maybe I'll make this on, and then based on the time duration which I have given, the clock tick to switch between the task. Okay, there is a timer tick. Based on the timer tick, it will switch from this task to the other one. Okay, so that the user will get a feel that okay, both the tasks are running simultaneously. Okay, so you get a feeling of the two tasks running simultaneously. This is possible because of the operating system. This is possible because of the operating system which we are having here. Okay.
So each task would be given a separate thread.
Pardon?
So each task is assigned a separate thread. So like OS assigns a thread for each task.
Yeah. I mean thread in a sense. You, as I have shown here. Yeah. So now the whole, suppose my LED is a whole process, right? LED on off is a function. Some amount of time is given for that LED function. Okay. Afterwards, at this particular time, it will switch to the relay task. Maybe after 5 seconds or something. And again, it will switch back to the LED task. There is a switching over, context switching and context saving, of course. There is some delay added because of switching. Did you get it?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is your what do you call? Okay, now I'll go back to the hardware. So this is the pin details. Since we were talking about the particular resources which we are using, this is how it looks like. Anyway, I'm going to discuss on the architecture in one of the lectures, but in today's lecture, since I've shown the board, we need to know a little bit about how the schematic looks like, how the evaluation board is connected with. Okay. So whenever you work with any of the hardware, you should have a little bit knowledge about the hardware connections as well, because without knowing it blindly, if you do something, it is of no use, right? So a little bit, I mean, maybe it is a very small thing. We need to aware of which port is connected to the particular hardware, considering my switches or the LEDs or the relays or LCD, whatever. Okay. So as you can see here in the pin detail, you can see there are so many ports, port 0, port 1, port 2, etc. Right? I've shown in the motherboard that there is an ARM Cortex small chip. Maybe it is hardly some 1 centimeter or maybe less than that, the dimension. Okay. So which is having so many features internally, and yeah, this port pins, I mean whatever the pins are connected to so many connectors. There are so many connectors. Okay, so this Cortex processor, the pins structure, for example, if I'm going to show you port 0, port 0, one second, yeah. So if you look at this port 0, some of the pins, P0.4 to 11 or something, which is given over here. So we need to know that these port pins are connected to what are the connectors, because internally those connectors are connected to some of the hardware which we are having. There are so many connectors. Maybe through your FRC cable, you'll be connecting these. They are connected with the external, because I cannot directly wire it to those. So through those connectors, they are having the connections. For example, my relay, that is in P0.25, I need to know that P0.25 is connected to which of the connectors. Okay, so P0.25, it is connected to connector 1. Is connected to connector 1. That connector 1 is connecting to the particular relay. So there is a connection between these two. So whenever I select that particular pin, it will ensure that the particular port pin is enabled, and as well as it is made as an output, and whenever I program it will ensure that that particular device is going to function. Okay, so this is basic knowledge we should have it whenever I'm using the board. And yeah, this is again about the various the port connections which through the FRC cable connected with the various. So yeah, this is again internal connections, lines which are made to connect with the various port pins. This I have just shown the from the data sheet, which given from the board. This is about your general purpose LED. As I have mentioning, there is a common anode LED which we are having. This is your driver, LED driver. So they are connected with the connector that is through the jumper. If I have to make this LED function, the jumper should be connected. If it is open, it won't make you to glow this LED. Make sure that JP2, that is a jumper 2, is shorted, and it is a common anode LED, and when I short this, it is internally connected to high voltage, and to glow this LED, I'll be giving a 0 to every LED, so whichever the LED. So we can see that these are connected to the respective board port pins, and if I have to make a specific LED to glow, I need to know which port pin is used. Okay, so this is your connector lines shown, and yeah, it is connected to the cathode of particular LED. Because I'm writing my program, and the program I make that 0 need to be sent through this, right? So this is connected to the particular port pin. Okay, so which connector is connected to my port of my hardware, that I need to aware of. This is about the relay diagram, which is again given through the hardware data sheet. So you can see there is a relay, and as you know that relay can be made on and off. Okay, so there is a relay connections. There's a magnetic coil or something you can see, but we cannot see in the board, but there is internally. You will make that relay to on and off through the particular port pin. Okay, so this port pin, again, it is connected with the pin port 025. It's connected to the relay. Yeah. Okay. Since we spoke about these two hardware, I have shown the hardware details of these. Maybe whenever using the other things, we need to know about what are the port pins are internally connected. Then only I'll be able to write a program on the particular hardware. Okay. So this is your system configuration file. We just have to know a little bit about this, because say there is a timer tick. Okay, so you define that what is the clock tick operating system which is going. Since I have just shown you with the round robin scheduling, we are having this within our system resource file, that system configuration file. I'll be including it. I need to ensure in that, maybe when I show you the respective project, then I'll be able to show you what are the files need to be included to run my code. This is one of the file which we are including it. So the point to be noted here, I have to make this OS_Robin, this should be made high. Whenever I'm using round robin scheduling, okay, in the system configuration file, make sure that this is made as high. If it is 0, I mean, for other type of scheduling, I don't have to. Okay, but whenever I'm using round robin, you have to make this high, and this will show you that how long a task will execute before a task. Okay, so there is a task switching, as I have shown in the previous, that there is a switching between the task, right? Okay, what is the time tick given for switching between the various tasks? Okay, If there are any queries, you can ask, otherwise I'll move on to the next. Anything to ask? Hello?
No doubts.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
can you, the ticks basically are a scaling factor, right?
Sorry?
I'm not very clear on what the ticks mean.
Tick is in the sense, something like for round robin, we will be giving some sort of a timer interrupt. You got it?
So basically, whatever frequency we are running the processor actual thing at, we'll be dividing it.
Yeah, because like there will be an internal timer. I'm including there is a system clock function, right? Wherein I can change my timer configuration as well. See, processor will run with some operating speed, right? Maybe high speed. While simulating, I'll somehow make it 12 megahertz. That itself is too high. When I run actually my program to visualize something, it is downscaled. There will be some PLL. It will make sure that you will divide that high speed clock into somewhat lowering it. Then make sure you will be able to visualize. So here again, since this is just to see that scheduling is running, that timer, whatever it is defined, it needs to give some sort of an interrupt. Okay, so it keeps. Yeah, so somebody had yeah, it is same as your tick. Do you get it?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I hope you got it. So since we are looking at how the system is executing, we need to lower the speed, and the tick is nothing but your interrupt. Okay, so now let us discuss some basics on the operating systems. Here, this is your we spoke about multitasking. As I said, even though there are multiple services, I'm not bothered about the other services how they are going to do it, like your file management or other things. We are not going to discuss here. We are mainly focused on the how it is running with the multitasking and how the various schedulings are used. What are the different types of schedulings are supported by the particular tool which we are using, and maybe a little bit about how we can check the performance of the various scheduling or the processor utilization. Okay, so for a certain extent, that's only the objective here. I mean, we'll get a comparative analysis of the different types of scheduling which we are using. Yeah, so we started with the multitasking. This is just to show that how exactly the multitasking is achieved in the operating systems. So you have two tasks, task 1 and task 2. Task 1 is running, and running in the sense, maybe we need to know about the state diagram. I'll discuss that state diagram when I talk about the process. So here I have a task, and there is something like a context switch, right? So maybe your LED and relay. So there is a switching between it will divide into different threads, and there is a switching between one thread to another thread, so that I can come back to complete my particular task. So whenever I switch between one task to other task, I need to save some of the informations. So like it is similar to your the main program and going to a function, subroutine calls. Exactly in the same way it is working here. So there is a main program running and you call a function and but after completing that particular function, I need to come back, right? I need to come back and start executing. So that coming back, whenever I come back, I need to know that what are the informations I have saved. I need to save some of the informations. So you need to save certain information. There need to be some temporary memory which can save all those informations and also maybe your return address. So of course, it is you are executing the instructions. So there will be a program counter. It keeps a track of where am I about my instructions. So it will save certain information in your certain location, and there will be a it will switch to the next. Suppose I have only two tasks. Task 1, switch to the task 2, then come back to the task 1. Okay. There is a little bit time, you call it as a context switch time. So that switch time is for saving certain information pertaining to the previous task. Okay, so that when I finish the next task, I need to come back and start executing. Okay, so that is some sort of a interleaving. It is interleaving between the two executions. Even though there is a sequential, but it switches between the two so that user get a feel that okay, the processor time is given to particular task only. So that feel you get it. Okay, so what thing you need to know is that in multitasking, the many threads of execution appear to be running parallelly. It appeared to be, please. I'm stressing this word. Okay, the kernel is actually interleaving the executions. Okay, it is switching between the two tasks based on some specific scheduling algorithm. Okay, based on some scheduling algorithm, it is switching between the tasks. Okay, so the scheduler must ensure that the appropriate task run at a particular time. So each task has its own context. What do you mean by context? It's the information related to the particular task. For example, LED on off. I'm done with LED on. Okay, so then I'm switching to the next. But when I come back, I need to know that okay, LED on is done. I need not on and LED again. I need to do LED off, right? So that is my coming back. Where did I stop and from where I am supposed to continue? So that information is something like a saving the information pertaining to the task from which I have switched. Okay, so there is a switching time. You call it as a context switch, and your scheduler makes switching between the one task to another. I hope you got it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So also we have this I have already discussed. There is a kernel, and which is part of your multitasking system. It's a part of your memory, wherein and most of the things in some of the system you have your operating system in the RAM itself. Some of the data structures are loaded in it, and please note that this also consumes some CPU time. Okay, some because when I do that multitasking, there are certain context switching, context saving. Okay, so it consumes some memory as well. It consumes some time as well. Okay, those things. I mean, it is using my CPU time to do the switching. Also, the kernel is provided with the various objects, okay, kernel objects in an application program which are called as APIs. Okay. So the main important component in any of your kernel is R. The scheduler, so it is contained within each kernel and it follows certain set of algorithms which determines which particular task is given a processor time. Okay, so if there are multiple process or the task, so the scheduler will decide that algorithm, maybe if it is round robin after a particular time, if it is a priority based, whichever the process is given the highest priority. If there is a first come first service, then whichever the process has appeared first in your ready queue, which should be given the CPU time for the execution. So depending upon the different scheduling algorithm you have it in the kernel or the operating system, which will decide whose turn need to get the processor time. Okay. Also, you have objects. There are certain kernel objects, nothing but your constructs, which help developers to create applications. So something like your semaphores, message queues, and you have mutex, etc. So those will make your programming with, so that there would not be any conflicts while sharing certain resources, so that we make use of mutex. Something like a whose now, for example, whose turn is to get the CPU time. To avoid certain conflicts, we make use of kernel objects. And so that also we can have some communications. So we may have to have some sort of a communication between the two processes which are running. We make use of certain inter-process communication as well. Then third thing is component is services. That is timing, interrupt handling, resource management. Okay. So these are the things very crucial how it is going to handle. So these are these three are the major components of your kernel. That is scheduler, objects, and the services. Okay. So this is the picture showing the kernel objects. So you have interrupt service routine, task, message queues, mailbox, pipes, semaphore, counting semaphore. Maybe we are going to discuss semaphores, mutex, task, mailbox. Okay, how we are using these things through the RTX. Okay, so some of the kernel objects. Yeah, these things, whatever I've discussed from Quingli, maybe if you want, I'll share it. Concepts for embedded systems. It's one of the only one or two chapters. I mean, not one or two chapters. To know each kernel objects, you can go through if you want. Earlier, I was not discussing this. The each one as a basic topic because most of the students have taken the real-time systems as one of the codes, so I was not discussing this. So I would like to know that are you aware of these kernel objects by any chance? Hello? Yeah. Yeah, Dhruv, are you there? Hello?
Excuse me, ma'am. I personally am not aware of the kernel objects. Unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people are.
Okay, okay. No, I don't want you to know, if but people shouldn't feel that there are certain things are repeated, and you shouldn't feel that it is repeated, because I'm going to discuss most of the things uh, in general and how they are used in the RTX. So please bear if you know it and if you have studied in any of the course. Are you getting? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So this about I'll show you one of the execution. One second. Give me some time. I wanted to show you one of the video. CST. Showing black. Yeah, I'm not able to find for the time being. I'll move on to the next topic. I'll be able to show you how exactly there is a concurrent execution and sequential execution, which I wanted to show you with respect to the one which I have shown the code.
Ma'am, you can send the video link also. We'll if it's on the internet.
Except that is also fine. Just to I mean get a feel that okay, there is a, even though it is up to the delay how we put it, but you will get to know that there is a difference in the execution with respect to the sequential and the when I'm using the operating system. Okay, we'll move on to the next topic, which is process. Yeah, we'll stop today's. Maybe I'll discuss the process in the next class. If there are any questions or anything to be discussed from your end, please. Hello?
No, ma'am, no doubts.
Okay. Ensure that there is the attendance is I'm taking the attendance, and people are joining, and there is an active participation as well. Make sure. Sometimes I may, because initial classes, so if you don't understand initially, there is no point in going further. At least make sure that, so you are final year students. I'll not make you compel later on, but at least in the beginning, you should make sure there is a active participation. Since this is an elective, you have taken it as an interest, and there should be some interest shown by your end as well. Okay, so I'm expecting that.
Yes.
It's a mutual learning, and we are learning in this journey, both the end, myself as well as you. Okay, so please make sure that in this journey of learning, you are also there along with me. Please make sure. Did you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, then I'll close.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.